Finally, the group goes on the first task. They were making their way through the southern Arcana in the Libel Desert. Yun was destroying monsters, Rib was collecting herbs, Beta was roasting from the scorching sun, and Delano was constantly watering him with water. A few days later, Rib asks everyone to look straight. They finally came. Southern Arcana, Libel Desert. The city at the Temple of Khmer, Antios. Entering the city, Delano notices that the city is too quiet, and there is not a soul around, although Antios is the second largest city in the south. Finally, the heroes realize that the city was infected, and most likely the infection started from the water. The city is not just quiet, there is no one there except a unigroup, although the buildings look normal. Apparently, everyone left because of the infection. The heroes are going to start walking to the city hall. Chapter 1. The story begins with a fierce battle between the Kingdom of Spirits and the Kingdom of Demons. This war has been going on for 10 years, and so far there are no winners or losers in it. The world is bursting at the seams, chaos is happening around. It is very difficult to resist demons, they turn out to be much stronger and more agile. Middle-rank spirits can't even touch the main demon. The spirit realm is far behind in strength, their skills are not enough to win. At one point, a fiery lion appears, he looks huge and very strong. The demon is at a loss, no one expected the appearance of this beast. With one of his sharp and confident movements, the lion swallows the main demon completely. The whole army of demons look at the lion questioningly with horror in their eyes. No one even dares to approach him. A silent question hung in the air, everyone is puzzled by what happened. When the forces were already weakening, and the spirits had no hope of winning this long battle, a savior appeared. His strength was enough to finish all that had lasted for years alone in a few seconds. The menacing roar of the lion erupted all over the sky. His gaze was terrifying. The roar was so powerful that the sky trembled. There were gaps that were getting brighter by the second. All the spirits raised their heads up at once to see what was going on. High in the sky, an eagle soared. His wings scattered the pitch darkness. Light spilled onto the ground. This light was so sharp and bright that it began to burn all the spirits. Screams and screams were heard from everywhere. From above, Keno appears out of this light, on a huge white dragon with a ball in its paws. This was the last dungeon, which is why the battle was so fierce. The spirits looked as if they had almost given up, but in the end they managed to defend their lands. Kengo's role in the spirit realm has finally come to an end. It's time to finish and return to Earth. The magic dagger wielded by Keno is able to open a magic portal to move in the worlds. All the divine beasts and spirits set off straight for the main character, but for some reason the portal did not work. The door was locked and there was no way to get in. Keno doubted that this portal even works. The magic dragon told him that the spirit realm is now behind the barrier. No more dungeons associated with the demon realm should appear. Kengo is surprised why it can't be made easier, and just go straight to the demon world, and seal the entrance from there. Then you can be sure that no one else will attack these lands. The dragon will explain that all this is impossible. Divine spirits and animals are very different from humans. Their powers are weakened by demonic energy, so it is very problematic to enter their kingdom. Despite everything, Kenho has doubts that the demons will not plot anything more. He tells the dragon that there have been no significant problems since he became stronger in the last 3 years. On behalf of everyone, the dragon thanks Kenho for his help. Without him they definitely would not have coped. The main character understands that everything is over and now the world is safe. Green smoke fills everything around. Kenho returns home. On a very ordinary day, when nothing foreshadowed trouble, people, as always, walked around the city, visited shopping malls, and just enjoyed life. It was going to be Kengo's mother's birthday soon. He was 25 at the time, and he was everything to his mom. On one of the most ordinary days, when everything was going peacefully and calmly, the main character noticed that a portal began to open under his feet. Kengo didn't understand what was going on. Arriving in the spirit realm, he realized that there was no great need for this meeting. The main character was angry that he was called up without even explaining anything in advance. The dragon from the spirit realm wanted to express his gratitude for his help in the battle with the demons. As a sign of this, he presented the precious seed of the Tree of Peace. The dragon said that this gift would be useful and worthy. Kengo thought he was being given something like protection for his world. The dragon asked the main character to grow a tree from this seed and treat it very carefully after he leaves this world. Kengo went through a lot of hard times, sometimes it was even lonely, but he understood that during all this time he had learned a lot and everything that happened was an interesting and exciting adventure for him. The moment of farewell came. Kenho was leaving the magical world. Of course, it was a sad event for everyone. The main character could not imagine whether he would be able to get used to ordinary life. Will his restaurant be enough for him, where he will be a hero hiding his strength? The portal opened again. The main character said goodbye to his friends, exchanged pleasant wishes, and moved to his own world. And then, one day, on a sunny day, urgent news began to be heard from all the gramophones, the radio. A fault appeared in the vicinity of Sol Sector -4. A Rank 2 disaster was declared. All residents were asked to leave the danger zone. People began to crowd, frightened by unexpected news. Chaos was happening on the drogues. There was fear and fuss everywhere. The fault was very large. The commander of the detachment ordered to hold the fault until the arrival of the military. The rift grew bigger and bigger. It was impossible to hold it. In the end it just broke. Kenho, transferred from the spatial teleport, saw a terrifying picture. The whole city was in ruins. A black flame dragon began to appear from the rift, preparing to strike at the city, but the main character was ahead of him. With his strength, he destroyed the dragon at once and the rift immediately disappeared. Kenho received a signal that they were trying to pick him up again. He understood that he had become stronger and hurried to the call. Chapter 2. Kengo was lying on the grass dying of hunger. He has been training for 5 months and 18 days. The main character asked the dragon to finally give him food. The whole point was that the spirits did not need food, and any substances that support vital activity. The main character trained too much, and to maintain strength and energy, some fruits and vegetables that were offered to him were not enough at all. And on Earth at this time, in a not very successful restaurant where a single woman worked, the news was also not the most pleasant. In a couple of months, the building was to be demolished, since the sector where the restaurant was built was now a fault site. Compensation for the demolition of the building was offered decent, but nevertheless the woman refused compensation and continued to pretend that she did not know anything. The employees of the services tried their best to prove that no one comes to this cafe to eat. The hostess herself also knew about it, but still she didn't care about the amount she was offered for the demolition of the building. The son of this unfortunate woman disappeared 10 years ago, and she simply cannot leave this building, because she is afraid that he will not find her. The employee of the service offered to transfer this case to the police, let them search for the missing person, because she herself will never be able to find him anyway. These words deeply hurt the woman. She was about to expel the uninvited guest when suddenly a familiar voice called out to her. The woman immediately recognized her son's voice and rushed to meet him. The incomprehensible employee of the services remained standing at a loss from what had happened. By the evening, the restaurant was closed. Kenho sat down at a table opposite his mother to talk to her. The woman kept crying and could not stop the flow of her tears. The main mountain understood that he missed his mother very much. From the moment he grew up, he began to try to show less and less sentimentality, but not now. At that moment, they were crying together, holding hands tightly. Mom couldn't believe that she was seeing her son, that he was back and everything was fine with him. Kengo understood that his mother had been very hard without him all this time. She asked him where he had been all this time and what had happened to him. The main character himself did not understand exactly what had happened to him. He thought he was sucked into the so-called rift. Faults appeared only after the Great Cataclysm, and that was 3 years ago, but Kenho was not sure that such a cataclysm had not happened before. He would like to tell his mother everything in detail, but he was afraid that she would not be able to believe it all. The version that her son had gone to save the world in the realm of spirits did not sound too convincing. Mom kept crying all the time he was gone. She didn't know what was wrong with her son. At some point she even thought that he had just run away from home. However, after the appearance of her son, she was very sorry that she allowed such thoughts and doubted him. Kengo was worried that his mother suffered a lot and decided to check her health with magic. Endurance and energy were below average. The main character realized that his mother was sick. He was disturbed by this thought. He was no healer, and he thought that it would be possible to find spirits or divine beasts. It was quite likely that after all the changes they could be on Earth. Mom interrupted her son's thoughts and offered him something to eat, but he refused, instead offering to go to the hospital because she looked rather pale. The doctor at the hospital said that Mom has lung cancer and is quite neglected. All the cancer cells will be very difficult to pull out. There are only 6 months left to live. She didn't want to spend her remaining months in the hospital because her son, whom she had thought dead for many years, had just returned. Kengo did not insist on his own, because he understood how dear he was to her, and how glad she was to see him. He went into the soy room. This place is already quite worn out. After a while, Mom called to eat. There were a lot of dishes on the table, including what Kengo liked the most. He was surprised when Mom managed to cook it all, to which she told him that she was waiting for him all the time. The main character happily began to devour everything that was on the table. During the conversations, Kenho confessed to his mother that he missed her very much, that during all the difficult periods of his life he thought about her, and survived only thanks to her. And now he simply has no right to make her suffer again. He must make her happy. Chapter 3. The system failed. Something was not going according to plan. The Earth was in great danger, and only a brave warrior who returned to his homeland could prevent this danger. It was a man, and his name was Kenho. The main character woke up from strange sensations in the middle of the night. He received an alarm signal. He went downstairs to see how peacefully his mother was sleeping, realizing that they would have to say goodbye again. Kengo knew that there was no time to lose. He needed to gather information as soon as possible, so he immediately flew right out of the window. Something strange was happening in the city. Black columns of smoke were rising right out of the ground. The main character immediately had a premonition that it could be demonic energy. Was the energy quite weak? But in the future, an evil creature could come out of this energy. It was impossible to delay. Kenho opened a portal to move to another world. There he was met by Xiphoid ostriches. The main character knew well that their heart has healing energy. This meant that he wouldn't need any additional materials to neutralize the demonic energy. After 10 years spent alone in the realm of spirits, the main character got into the habit of talking to himself, which he did not even know about yet. After walking a little, Kengo found the summoning circle. Using his incredible strength, he raised clouds of dust from the sand to make the summoning. Unexpectedly, the system failed. A force exceeding the allowed by the system was used. Immediately, a message appeared on the screen that the guardian god was calling him to find out who he was. Kengo was at a loss, because the guardian god was his old friend, the dragon mirror. The whole earth trembled under him. A portal opened under his feet. The main character was very angry that he was called at such an inopportune time. His goal now was to get the hearts of the Xiphoid ostriches as soon as possible, before the dungeon disappeared. Kenho returns to Earth with the trophy, but some kind of strong wave passes through the city, distorting space. The main character understands that the guardian god has come for him. The well-known portal opens again under your feet. He doesn't want to go, but the forces that attract him are stronger. Kenho meets the defender of the earth, the god Carnus di Lupus. To the main character, he seems rather weak, but he is deeply mistaken. The protector god has been watching the planet for 10,000 years, and now he needs Kenho. He has excellent characteristics and well-pumped levels, and the keeper of the earth has not long left. The main character has a close conversation with the defender of the earth, and he reveals his secrets to him. Despite the fact that he never liked people because of their egoism and fragility, he kept a promise to his god, given more than 10,000 years ago, to protect people. However, now he has already exhausted his limits. His magic power has been forgotten, and his life force is gradually disappearing. Life is coming to an end, and now God wants to do what he likes. He wants to enjoy the last moments. He claims to have despaired and lost his essence. Once upon a time, during the Great Cataclysm, the guardian god felt a huge threat, and gave all people a system to track their karma. Kenho's karma has gone beyond all estimates. Based on his spiritual and magical energy originating from karma, the guardian god invited the main character to take his place after his departure. Kengo is furious at this situation. He doesn't understand why he has to take a place he doesn't want to take, and why he is being forced to do it. He himself does not know how his account became so large and, on top of everything, believes that the work of the guardian god is a complete deception and disrespect. The main character flatly refuses to participate in this, but the guardian god tells him that it's too late. Everything around comes to life, an unknown portal appears under your feet again, flooding everything around violets with light. Kenho soars skyward, above the planet itself. Chapter 4. The ceremony of inheritance of the god protector of the planet begins. Kenho does not want to become a guardian. He tries to stop the process with all his might. The unbelievable is happening. Blue light envelops everything around. Bright flashes occur one after another. The main character can't calm his anger in any way. It's unpleasant for him that the ceremony began without his consent. In addition, he doesn't even understand why all this is necessary. Golden chains of restraint appear on his hands. Gradually, these chains capture the whole body. This magic chain circle has great power, and it is impossible to simply break it. Divine powers are very different from magical powers, and the guardian god claims that soon the main character will be able to use them. Kengo tries to explain that life is too fleeting, and he doesn't want to waste it on something he doesn't want to do. He asks to be sent home, because the guardian god does not hear him and still acts in his own way. In fact, everything is not just like that. After the death of the guardian god, a new defender of the earth will be needed, and only Kenho can become one. Kengo is surprised that the life of the guardian god can also be cut short. He thought they were all immortal. The wolf says that this is only half true. He is granted eternal life in exchange for protecting the world. But it is difficult for him to recover on Earth, where there are no spirits or divine beasts, because the planet and the guardian god are one. Even if he is destined to cease to exist, the guardian god cannot just stand by and do nothing. Despite all the revelations of the wolf, Kenho continues to resist the forces holding him back. He repeats again and again that he does not want to become his successor. The main character does not want someone to manage and direct him, especially if this someone is an old guardian wolf. Kenho gathers all his energy and strength. A sword appears in his hands, with which he cuts the chains that hold him back from all sides. He directs this sword towards the guardian god, thereby infuriating him. The wolf begins to grin and heads towards Kenho. He says that all people are the same. They only care about themselves. If they don't see their benefits, then they just turn a blind eye to everything. At this time, Kenho realizes that he needs to calm down and think carefully about how to attack the guardian god. After all, despite the fact that he is already old, he is still very strong. He remembers how as a child his friend had a dog and she really didn't like brushing her teeth. Kenho decided to use the same method. Opening the mouth of the wolf, he began to brush the teeth of the guardian god. While brushing the wolf's teeth, Kenho decided to make a promise that he would never force anyone to do anything they didn't want to do again. Then the wolf suddenly said that Kenho should become one. For the sake of his mother, he would be able to cure her illness with the help of divine power. Since the guardian god is responsible for the life of all beings, he is able to heal diseases. Kenho was puzzled by these words. He asked the wolf to heal his mother, and in return he would do everything he was asked to do, except becoming a guardian god. The wolf says that it is much more logical to become a guardian himself and cure his mother, but Kenho is not sure that this is a good idea. It is unknown when he will get used to his new powers and will be able to help his mother. Kengo cuts through space with one swing of his sword. The restaurant is visible in the window. The main character tells the keeper that first he needs to shrink in size. The wolf turns from a huge predatory and terrible beast into a small puppy. Together they move into the world and get into the room where Mom sleeps. The guardian god says that she has very little left to live, but his life is left for the same time as hers. The wolf has a condition. If Kengo can solve his problem with the successor, then he, in turn, with the help of his life forces, will help his mother. The main character has an idea. He is sure that ordinary food will help him restore vital energy. Chapter 5. There were definitely creatures like divine beasts or spirits on Earth that possessed magical energy. Well, through the stupidity of people, they all disappeared. But now, their time has come. Meanwhile, Kengo went to the kitchen, followed by the keeper. The main character took out the seed of the tree and the world and began to think what to do with it. He doesn't understand the importance of this seed. Kengo thought that this plant could help the guardian recover. The wolf tries to explain that the seed of the tree of the world cannot be obtained anywhere on Earth. It exists in a single copy. The guardian asks where Kenho got this seed from, to which he replies to him that he got it randomly. To restore it, it will be effective to start growing a tree of peace, but this should be done by the guardian god himself. The wolf cannot grow this tree by himself, since he has only 6 months left before he leaves this world. Kengo had some thoughts about this again and asked the wolf to leave the kitchen. The keeper did not agree to leave, and the main character simply rolled him out of the room with a ball. Completely upset that he could not change anything, and could not influence people in any way, the guardian god, hanging his head, left the restaurant. Meanwhile, Kengo in the kitchen started cooking. He was incredibly pleased that he hadn't lost his skills yet. His task was to prepare the heart of the Ziphwade ostrich. Having dealt with this matter, the main character called the keeper to return back to the kitchen. The keeper was perplexed. What could Kenho do that he got so dirty? The main character prepared a healing food for the keeper, but he flatly refused to eat it. After all, the heart of the Ziphwade ostrich is completely saturated with demonic energy and poison. The main character persuades the keeper to try his food, because she is able to help not only him, but also thanks to the power that she will restore from the keeper, he will be able to cure his mother. Having given up, the keeper finally tastes the food, and he is delighted with how delicious it is. He doesn't understand how Kenho was able to cook such an ideal food from a product prescribed entirely with poison. And it's all about how Kenho has spent his last 10 years. When he was in the spirit realm, there was absolutely nothing to eat besides fruit. He went to the river Styx, which is the river of the dead, to talk to his grandmother. The grandmother was amazed by the appearance of her grandson. He lost a lot of weight and was very exhausted. No one could dare to starve her grandson. She promised to help him. Since then, when Kenho tries to cook something, his grandmother appears in his head and tells him how to cook. After the guardian, whom Kenho kindly called Bellyash, ate the magic food, his strength began to recover a little, but unfortunately, this would not be enough to cure the mother of the main character. Therefore, Kenho offered to cook such food for Bellyash constantly until his strength was fully restored. Especially now he did not need to leave his mother and protect anything. Chapter 6. A huge multi-story building opens up to the eye, quite pulling on a skyscraper. This is Shinwa Company, which is now at the top of the Korean economy, and has the highest status worldwide. The second son of the executive director, Lee Sung-won, works in this company. Now he is once again faced with a difficult situation and is at a loss, not knowing what to do next. Kenho's mom woke up in the morning from the fact that her son called her to the kitchen to eat. Despite all the events happening at night, it didn't disturb her sleep. When she got up on the bed, she saw a small dog next to her, who was licking her legs hard. Mom went out to the kitchen and asked Kenho if he had brought this little animal home. He nodded approvingly. Despite the fact that he used to be very much afraid of dogs, now this decision seemed to him quite good. It's finally time for breakfast. The main character with great pleasure shows his mother what he has cooked, leaving her in complete shock. This is something incredible. Has Kenho really perfected his cooking skills? Mom tries her son's creation and is interested in what he cooked this dish from. The main character prefers not to reveal all his cards, and says that he cooked it from the heart of a cow, having cooked it for a long time. Mom is so pleased with her son's dish that she jokingly offers him to lead the patronage of her restaurant. Kengo likes this idea and approves it with a good-natured laugh, thinking in his head what he would call the restaurant. Under the table, Bellyash constantly clings to the main character's leg and happily waves his tail. He would like to add a magic dish from the heart of Ziphwade ostriches. Kenho reminds him that she can't feed him so much, because then there will be nothing left for Mom. But Bellyash is in a hurry to calm him down, because he treated the mother of the main character with his strength all night, and now she should no longer be tormented by severe pain. The mother of the main character is very surprised why the dog does not eat dog food, and offers Kenho to buy it when he goes shopping. But the little dog waves his tail in protest. He does not like dog food at all. Lee Soon-won is sitting alone in a large room very much thinking about something. His face is puzzled by some problem. An assistant comes into the room, and the manager immediately asks if he has found out the reason. The assistant is forced to say that the reason is still unknown, but they are working on it. One thing is for sure, the video surveillance system did not stop working. Even the workers who were at the scene at the time say that the portal opened on its own, without any reason. The boss is very upset by all the events taking place and asks his assistant what, in his opinion, there may be consequences after this incident. The assistant says that now the boss is likely to be called either a diamond spoon or the mediocrity of the Shinhwa family, because he has already passed the stages of adult child and rich hunter. The assistant tries to calm his supervisor with words. He claims that the nickname the mediocrity of the Shinhwa family will be hard to beat. The boss panics and suspects that he is being bullied. He doesn't want any nicknames at all. He spent 500 billion on this dungeon, and now he suspects that his next nickname will be exactly 500 billion man. Finally, after some time, the assistant asks if his supervisor has calmed down. It turns out that Lee Soon-won's father and his older sister still do not know about what happened, but the guard assures that as soon as he says the words, the entire Shinhwa guild will take off. The manager claims that he was too excited at first, even though he became awakened. He is sure that mediocrity will always remain mediocrity. The assistant looks questioningly at his boss. After a few minutes, he gives out that the chairman hates people saying something like that. Immediately, the manager asks him whose secretary he is at all. Park Jun-soo says that they still don't know the reason for what happened and he really hopes that his boss won't dare to act rashly. After all, he was the only one who made efforts to resume the raids on the dungeons. And if he decided to give up, then at least find a suitable reason for this. Lee Soon-won is glad to hear such words from his secretary, and is very pleased that he is still on his side. He decides to ask what happened to the group that was mobilized 6 hours after the incident. The secretary lays out that, based on what he knows, the whole group is now resting after studying the dungeon raid scheme. As he claims, the information has not yet leaked to the press. And all the video footage from the cameras, he has already sent to the boss's tablet. Lead presses the play icon and his facial expression immediately changes. Something strange is happening on the video. The sound is not like the sound of the natural destruction of the dungeon, nor the sound of weapons. This sound is very similar to the destruction of something by magical energy. He had been preparing for this raid and had seen countless hunters training. After thinking a little, the manager realizes that this will not work, and he wants to see everything in person, so he asks the secretary to prepare his car. Chapter 7. The head gathers all employees in the meeting room at a huge negotiating table and once again reminds that all information must be reliable. Someone from the other end of the table says that neither video surveillance, nor television cameras, nor ultrasonic wave detectors, no equipment has recorded anything abnormal. Based on this, the head concludes that this did not happen from external influence and not from them, but the problem itself arose even before their visit. In his head, he argues that if the trial goes according to the worst scenario, the losses will be calculated not in billions of won, but in tens of billions. After looking at his watch, the manager replaces that it is already 10 p.m. He thanks everyone who participated in this meeting and announces that the next meeting will take place when the preparation for the trial and the materials for it will already be ready. The head goes outside, the bright sun blinds his eyes, from which tears flow from those. The assistant, seeing this picture, asks if everything is fine with his boss. Lee Soon-won says that he is haunted by the feeling that everyone is suffering because of his fault. He even made his secretary wait for him for more than 18 hours. He thinks about giving up, because it seems to him that it will make everyone feel better. The hero raises his head to the sky. The situation is certainly not pleasant now, but for the sake of a rare class, he agrees to take a walk. A rare C-rank magic archer is to blame for that. If there was an E rank or a D rank, he would definitely have already given up. The hero was completely immersed in his thoughts, at least he had another good side. A picture appeared in my head. His father is sitting on a chair and says that he as his son can't even keep up with his sister's shadow. Completely lost in thought, the boss fell behind. It was good that at that moment the assistant called out to him. His suggestion was to have a snack somewhere before returning to the office. But the hero still seemed to have not come out of his thoughts and ignored the words of the secretary. He just replied that he was going to sleep today. The assistant often noticed that his supervisor scratched his forehead when he was nervous or when he was going to go to sleep to relieve stress. The boss finally gave up and agreed to go eat in good company before returning. The secretary said she knew a good place, but the boss offered to go to the first restaurant that she liked. Both got into the car and drove around the city. On the way, the assistant wondered at the strength of the buildings destroyed because they are in this zone. Suddenly I remembered that there was a restaurant nearby and offered to look right there. At the entrance to the restaurant, the bell on the door rang joyfully and Kenho, turning to the entrance, greeted the guests kindly. These were the first visitors since he returned. He also immediately asked how much a person needs a table for visitors. The secretary replied that a table was needed for 2. Looking around, Lee Soon-won noticed that this building had been pretty battered for a while, and suggested that it would be better if they went to another place. Kang-go invited the visitors to follow him. They sat down in their seats and immediately expressed a desire to place an order. The idea flashed through the head of the main character that these visitors are very strange and interesting. A window immediately popped up offering to show him their status windows. Telepathically, Kenho sent a reply to the sender, to which he agreed to view the visitors' status windows. A complete alignment of each of them appeared before my eyes. Name, age, class, strength, endurance, features, and karma. Kengo assumed that his intuition had not let him down, but he did not understand why people like these would come here. Did they also get into the realm of spirits and then come back? The message came again, which said that such people as they call awakened. 3 years ago, after the Great Cataclysm, magical power or individual classes began to awaken in some people, just like in a game. And these two are exactly like that. Kengo pondered. He suddenly began to remember the invasion of demons. At this time, the visitors were peacefully communicating with each other. Kenho again asked a question to Bellyash, with whom he had a telepathic connection. He wondered how strong these people with their level were right now. The friend replied that among all people they are in 10%, and among hunters in 30%. Now Kengo realized that his ray of hope had finally been extinguished. Such people will find it difficult to resist even demonic monsters of medium rank. About themselves where mana is not even worth talking about. Then a voice was raised from the table and asked to come over to take the order. Perhaps they would like to order something diverse, but I had only one dish. Combining the dish is rice, soup and several side dishes. Kengo regretfully said that this is all they can offer for now. But that wasn't what confused the visitors. They were confused by the price. The main character noticed that over the past 10 years it has grown by as much as 10,000 won. Visitors, on the contrary, said that this is too small a price. If you work with such small valuables, you can go bankrupt very soon. Then mom came out of the kitchen and said that now even a cup of changmen costs 30,000 won. Kengo, discouraged by the fact that prices soared so much after the great cataclysms, stood in a complete stupor. And my mother explained to the visitors at the time that her son had just been missing somewhere for 10 years, and she had been working all this time so that he could find him one day. Despite everything, she was able to stay afloat, so now there is absolutely nothing to worry about. She is sure that if she continues in the same spirit, something very good will happen to this place one day. The visitors were in a small stupor from such reasoning, but did not fall in sight. There was already a smell of cooked food from the kitchen. The heroes really had an appetite, and they asked the hostess to make their order more spicy. Mom called Kenno to the kitchen to help her. In turn, he decided to clarify once again whether they are too cheap. But his mom was so glad that visitors finally appeared for the first time in a long time that she missed her son's question. Then she came up with a great idea. Since these were the first customers since Kengo's return, she suggested that he prepare an order for them himself. Chapter 8. The action takes place in some huge factory. There are a lot of boxes, apparatuses and tanks. In the depths of the plant, in one of the so-called rooms, plaintive cries are heard. He asks to be spared. In response, another already male voice, belonging to a little pleasant-looking person, replies that there was no talk of murder. This man is quite tall, with dark, slightly tousled hair, and there is a scar on his cheek. He continues to speak to the interlocutor, holding a knife in his hands. He's not a monster at all, he just wants to hear the answer to his question. The question is very unusual. The kidnapper asks who loves the other more, the guy the girl or vice versa. Their hands are tied behind their backs, they sit on the floor and look at each other plaintively. A heartbreaking laugh is heard from the kidnapper. He seems to be very amused by the current situation. He claims that there is nothing in the lack of love to hide it. The next moment he gives a verdict. The guy will be the first and kills him. Meanwhile, an argument breaks out in the restaurant. Visitors satisfied with the order and service offer Kenho to take a bill of 5 million won. The main character says that he has never seen so much money and his conscience will not allow him to take this money just like that. Visitors reassure that this money is just a payment for the time spent on them, although it is possible that other people can use it differently. Lee Sung-won was so moved by the situation that he started crying again. He began to say that this is the best thing for a man like him who can't even eat properly because of work. Perhaps today was the last time he ate at all. Perhaps it was the last cooked meal at all, which even his father could not have given him before he died. Kengo began to calm the visitor, saying that, in his opinion, he was being too dramatic. The visitor continues to say that the combined dish that was prepared for him was incredibly delicious. Kengo's eyes shone at these words. He couldn't believe he was hearing it with his own ears. Since the visitors liked his dish, he agreed to take the payment, although he believed that there was still a lot of it, In gratitude, he told the guests that they can come to this restaurant at any time and they will always be welcome there. Mom looked out of the kitchen, asking if the visitors had already left. Satisfied, Kenho rushed to show his mother a huge bill. Mom's eyes popped out from the amount she saw. Still in shock, she asked how he could accept such a huge bill. The main character began to calm his mother, explaining that this money did not come for nothing. Visitors bought food subscriptions. They said they really liked the food and were going to come to their restaurant all the time. They immediately paid the entire amount for future visits. Kengo didn't feel very well, because he was still lying to his mother. After calming down a little, Mom said that this money is a huge relief, because they still need to pay for the institute. After the mother informs about the change in his status, since she filed a missing person report, she will have to pay the accumulated matchmakers. After all, you still need to tell them that your son is alive and you will also need to buy basic necessities. Then Mom suddenly looked at her son with a dissatisfied look, and asked how long he was going to wear the same clothes at all. Kengo said he wears it because it's so comfortable for him. After a while they went to the institute. Sector B2 Law Enforcement Center.